Have you ever thought deeply about what lies beyond death? Is heaven merely an illusion or a genuine promise? Is hell just a story meant to alarm us today?
We're gonna question everything we believe about heaven and hell because,
and if they're not what we always thought they were, have you ever felt that there's something beyond what we see, something we can't explain? Heaven and hell are concepts that have existed since,
always.
But what if we are wrong in his interpretation?
Today we are going to explore the unknown and question our most deeply held beliefs. Close your eyes. Can you imagine paradise? Now imagine the worst of hell, but
what if I told you that both things could be very
different?
What they always told you.
Humanity has perpetually been fascinated by the concepts of heaven and hell.
But what if it was all one big misinterpretation?
Today I will show you a different version of what could be the fate of our souls, religions, cultures, even science. Everyone has an opinion about what happens. Well, about death. But there's something they all might have missed. Today we will explore that possibility. From childhood we are taught to fear hell and long for heaven.
But what if those concepts were something much deeper and more complex?
Perhaps it is time to alter our viewpoint and perceive heaven and hell from an entirely new perspective.
Heaven is genuinely an oasis of eternal serenity, while hell is a realm of unending anguish today.
We will question these ideas and see if there is something else behind these concepts that have accompanied us for centuries.
They have taught us that heaven is the place where eternal happiness is fulfilled and hell the place of the eternal suffering. But what if all this was nothing more than a metaphor for our own
mind? Perhaps the heavens and hells we experience in life with every decision we make.
Each religion proposes its own depiction of heaven and hell, but what if they were all mistaken? What if the true heaven and hell defy our current conceptions?
Let's explore the alternatives.
The idea of heaven and hell has guided humanity for centuries.
Yes.
Real question, not where we're going?
But
do we live now?
Today we will put our perception of these concepts under the magnifying glass. We've always been told that our actions will take us to heaven or hell, but
what if we are already experiencing a version of those places without realizing it today?
We will explore how our daily choices bring us closer to a personal heaven or hell. Different cultures and religions have drawn heaven as a place of peace where happiness is eternal. Hell, on the other hand, is described as a realm of suffering and pain, punishing the souls of sinners, but
imagine if these realms were just states of mind reflecting our actions and thoughts?
It could be that depending on how we live and we are already experiencing a little of that heaven or that hell, here and now, when analyzing different beliefs, we see that heaven and hell are two sides of the same coin.
Some believe that our daily actions are what decide whether we are on the path to heaven or hell, but what if that decision is not known?
Take after death, but here,
same.
Every day, the way we live and treat others could be the key to understanding these concepts. It is possible that heaven and hell are nothing more than mental states that reflect our daily decisions, every act of kindness. Every word of love brings us closer to what might be considered heaven. In the same way, every time we make a selfish decision, we could be approaching our own personal hell. Right here on earth, many have wondered if heaven and hell are fixed destinations, or if they are something we build with our actions. Imagine every day.
What's your decision?
Love, empathy, and generosity are building a small fragment of heaven, and when you choose hatred, indifference, and selfishness, you are opening the doors to hell like that. Heaven and hell could be the cumulative result of all our choices. Our actions have a profound weight in our lives, perhaps much more than we think. Every moment we choose good, we're creating one
version of the
heaven that is tangible and real in our daily lives. The same thing happens when we let negativity dominate our decisions, and we could be approaching that hell we fear so much right here without realizing it. And
if heaven and hell were states of being, reflecting the peace or torment we feel due to our actions,
perhaps the satisfaction of doing good and the bitterness of selfishness are indicators of which direction our lives are leaning. This leads us to ask ourselves every day whether our decisions bring us closer to personal heaven or hell. Some philosophers believe that heaven and hell are not real places, but states that we create with our daily decisions.
What if the real hell wasn't a place full of fire, but a life full of regrets? The
quantum theory raises very curious questions about the nature of reality.
What if heaven and hell were actually parallel dimensions as tangible as the very universe we live in?
Imagine that our destiny depends on minimal decisions that take our lives towards one path or another. We've seen how science can explain everything, from the birth of stars to the origin of life, but when it comes to heaven and hell, many scientists remain silent.
What if there was a deeper underlying reason for that one?
Reason that has to do with the very nature of our existence. The religions of the world have different visions of heaven and hell, but there is a common thread in all of them: the idea that our actions have consequences. Could
it be that heaven and hell are merely metaphors for the profound impact that our actions have?
Decisions.
they have in our lives and in the of the others.
Imagine that every time you do a good deed, you construct a little heaven around you with every good deed, and conversely, you build a fragment of hell with every act of hate.
Tal.
Heaven and hell are not far away, but we are building them here and now without realizing it. Maybe hell is not a place full of flames, but the sadness of living a life without purpose, without empathy, and full of mistakes that could have been avoided. And maybe heaven is in the satisfaction of living by your noblest values, even the small details of daily life. How to smile at a stranger or help someone in need. They could be acts that build our personal heaven. In the same way, the little cruelties, the grudges we hold, could be the basis of our hell. The real hell might be the absence of purpose, the feeling that our lives don't have meaning in the same way. Heaven could be found in connection with others, and in the satisfaction of living a life with meaning and kindness. Every choice we make has the power to bring us closer to a state of harmony or to a state of chaos and suffering. Perhaps that is, in essence, heaven and hell, states of our existence that reflect our accumulated decisions over time. In the end, heaven and hell might not be places we go, but places we create right here. Every action, every word, every thought is a brick on the road to our personal heaven or hell. The question:
It's not if they exist, but which one we're building now.
Same. Perhaps heaven and hell are nothing more than the reflection of our own lives. Every decision we make, every emotion we feel, every experience we live takes us one step closer to our own heaven or our own hell.
The real question that one might ponder then is, how are you choosing to live?
It's entirely within the realm of possibility that everything we've ever been told regarding heaven and hell is merely a metaphor for the decisions we make in our daily lives. True judgment may not be something that happens posthumously, but rather it occurs every single moment as we determine the kind of life we aim to create. Perhaps true heaven and true hell aren't related to the afterlife, but instead are deeply intertwined with what we experience and construct in our present existence.
If our actions are seeds, then what kind of garden are we cultivating? One of harmony or one of chaos?